Welcome to Leadership Matters, a podcast from the Bailey Group. I'm your host, Kaylee Thompson, president of and partner at the Bailey Group, where we believe better leaders create healthier workplace environments, healthier humans, and a better world. On this show, we explore real stories, practical insights, and honest conversations to help you lead yourself and others better. Thanks for joining us. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Leadership Matters. I'm your host, Kaylee Thompson, and today I'm joined by Ann Schoolcraft. Ann is a certified EOS implementer and has 9 years of experience living in the visionary-integrator dynamic herself. In her role as an EOS implementer, she partners along organizations to help them gain meaningful traction. Ann, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you here. I would love to start with, what is a moment in your life that has fundamentally changed how you see leadership?
That's a great question. It sounds so weighty, but so I had to think. So there was a moment I got involved in my husband's business. So I had a corporate job, kind of burned out, said, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom, needed something to do, and started getting involved in the family business bit by bit, and started to discover that we were in really rough financial shape in the business. And there were a lot of holes. My husband was just trying to cover so many pieces. And we lost a key employee, so I started filling more holes, started getting involved in his peer group that was focused on IT companies, and got more and more involved. They started to get to know me, and I actually attended the meeting in his place in the fourth quarter of 2012 because we couldn't afford to send both of us, like we couldn't buy the plane tickets for both. One of my friends that I was starting to get to know from the group had brought his CFO to the meeting and had looked over our financials, and they sat me down by the pool, and they said, okay, here's what you need to do to turn the business around. And I'm like taking sheets and sheets of notes. And I looked at them and I said, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I don't know how to run a business. And Rod, the CFO, who is still our CFO today, said, you're a mom. Moms have all the best skills you need for leadership and management. You're going to be fine.
Wow.
And I had never thought about that.
Incredible.
So I ran with his plan and was able to execute it, and we turned things around. But that has always made me think differently about women in particular in leadership. Like, motherhood is such good preparation. You gain so many skills. So
many skills.
Yeah.
I say that, I'm so glad you shared that story. I say that all the time. Out of all the experiences I've had, and I've had a lot, and all the hard-earned lessons, I absolutely have seen my own growth catalyzed most significantly by my journey into motherhood.
Absolutely.
And it's everything from people skills to self-regulation to organization to execution, time management.
Yep.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. In EOS, we teach people really on the first day, good leadership is like being good parents. And when I first heard that, I resonated with that right away. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah. I love that. So you talked about how somebody else saw something in you and gave you the gift of equipping you with confidence that, hey, maybe I do have everything inside of me. Mm-hmm. How have you taken that feedback and utilized that in your own journey?
I think, like most leaders who have any sense of reality, imposter syndrome is like there immediately. Equipped for this, I'm not prepared for this, I don't have the MBA, I don't have the, and keep going back to, well, Rod thinks I can do this. He's a smart guy. Okay, all right. And at that same meeting, we brought the plan to the peer group, and they said the same thing. Like, Keith needs someone to work with him in this business, and it's you. And having their vote of confidence was something I could anchor to and go back to when I thought, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm learning it as I go. But having people believe in you who have a reasonable reason to, like, they knew enough they weren't just saying it to be like, rah, this will be fine. But like, no, this is the answer for this company. Massively helpful.
Wow. What was one of the hardest lessons that you learned during those days of getting involved in the business and really turning things around really significantly?
The people decisions are the hardest. So we had to lay off a couple of folks in order to not go bankrupt. But it still feels like I'm betraying that person. Like I'm taking their job away. This is serious. But it's like, but what about all the other people that are employed here? Like we don't want them to lose their jobs too. And having to make those choices, it was the worst. I just remember bawling my eyes out on the way home the day before, thinking like, I can't believe I have to do this. And the bright side of that experience is watching that person land in another job that was a great fit for them. And going, okay, it's not all about me. Like they're going to be fine. They're a talented person. They were on the team for a reason, and they're going to be okay. So that duality of like, it's really hard and painful and icky, and it's not actually the end of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I really appreciate about your story is you jump into this family-owned business. You and your husband are living the visionary integrator dynamic in real life. What was the most challenging part about that, Anne?
Oh, gosh. The most challenging part. There were a few challenging parts. It is funny because I remember reading Traction for the first time and reading that section about the visionary, the integrator, and going, oh my gosh, that's us. Gino's been to our house. Okay, all right, this is a thing. Yay. He's not doing it to drive me nuts. Yeah. So that was helpful. The challenging part, so it was actually after the turnaround. So in those early days, we were super aligned. Like we both wanted to save the business. We were going to do whatever it took to save the business, period. And we did. Got it turned around, paid off the debts, got profitable. And once things were running smoothly, our goals shifted and our alignment shifted. So my husband is the classic entrepreneur, wants to grow it big and, and I am not. One of the tools we use in EOS is called Colby, and it measures your instinctive strengths. One of those is your relationship to risk, and it's called Quick Start. Scale of 1 to 10. 10 is most willing to embrace risk, and 1 is least. He's a 9, and I'm a 1. So this may have led to some conflict.
Yeah. Healthy tension.
And so when we were both in preservation mode, save the business, we were 100% aligned.
Yeah.
When it got to, okay, now I want to grow it to 10 million, and I'm like, no, I just want to keep it small and make it profitable. And I say this with the benefit of hindsight. In the moment, it just felt tense. Like I couldn't necessarily put my finger on it because I wanted to support him. I wanted to execute on his vision. But deep down, I didn't want to grow it as fast as he wanted to grow it. And so there was this under the surface divergence. And we talk about vision being shared by all. And there was a period where I didn't share his vision anymore, but couldn't articulate it. And he sensed that and also couldn't articulate it. And the double-edged sword, of course, of being married then is you're like, does my spouse not support me? And so then it overflows into the personal relationship and it got really difficult.
What was most helpful during that season?
Couples therapy, number one.
Amen.
Huge plug for couples therapy. It was so educational, and it really helped us. Even though we'd been through leadership training, we'd been through marriage classes, and but you get to a certain point where the differences that bring you together are also like driving you nuts. Yeah. And so learning to think about the way our brains are different and the words we're using and the assumptions we're making and how our own stuff was getting in the way, super powerful, super, super powerful. And that was really where I started to think about, can I support my husband by getting out of this business? Maybe I need to find my own thing, because IT is 100% his passion. Like, that's definitely where he needs to be.
Yeah.
But it was like, maybe it's time. So that was kind of the door for my next move.
Yeah. How much do you think your ownership in the company impacted your experience as an integrator and maybe some of your grip around the vision, if at all?
I think it took me a while to feel like an owner. I mean, my husband's owned the business from day one, literally in our tiny little apartment. And I came in as an employee initially. And it was actually working within the peer group, realizing that as a couple, you own the business in the eyes of the law, even if his name's on the certificate. And like, oh. So like, it took a while to even accept that was part of my responsibility. It was like, I'm also in the owner's box. I'm not just in the integrator seat. But it didn't help because we had different versions of where we wanted things to go. And because he's the founder, like, it makes sense for it to go the direction he wants it to go. But I didn't feel equipped, ready, comfortable with what would be required of the integrator role, really, for that kind of rapid growth.
Yeah.
Again, all with hindsight. In the moment, it just felt icky.
Yeah, right. Yep.
Like, I've had a lot of time to think this through.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So as you start to think about life beyond that role and that business, where did you go from there, Anne?
Yeah. So I was starting to think, like, what else could I do and what am I fit for? Like, I've had this bizarre career. Worked in corporate, did software stuff, medical devices, stay-at-home mom. Now I've run this small business, but, like, who's ever heard of an integrator? I mean, this was late 20-teens.
Yeah.
And EOS was gaining popularity, but it was still pretty novel. And I was like, I don't even know what I'm fit for anymore. And I was still attending the peer group. We were going together at this point. And just dialoguing with the group about, like, I need to find my own thing. And somebody in the group spoke up and said, well, we want to do EOS. We know you know it. Would you help us?
Wow.
And so I said, okay, if you're willing to be my guinea pig, because, like, I've never done an implementation. I've just run the meetings for us. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. And we did it. And it was so much fun. I loved it. They loved it. It worked really well for them. They were an amazing team. And I was like, okay, this is my way out. I still had responsibilities.
Yeah.
So I started delegating out of some of the many seats I was sitting in the IT space. So I have a little more time for EOS stuff. Somebody else in the peer group then wanted to jump in, and then I found somebody locally here in Minneapolis, and it just started building. And then I went full-time in 2021, delegated all the way out of the integrator seat, which felt amazing. I was ready. Because I'm like, I found my passion. I remember visiting my mentor, Barbara Hensley, the founder of the Hope Chest. I'm visiting her house, and she had a plaque that said, do what lights your soul on fire. And I'm like, I'm trying to find that. I'm trying to find it. And when I started implementing EOS for other companies, like, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. I was like, this is it. This is my thing. And it's just different. Like, in the integrator seat, I could do it. I think I did it well. But I didn't... I cared for our people, but I didn't necessarily love the role. And as an implementer, I love it. And it was such a difference. I'm like, to be able to do work that you truly enjoy and actually gives you energy is so different and amazing.
What is it about implementation that you think speaks to your soul, lights it on fire?
I think there's a couple of things. One is I love seeing the progress. So I'll visit my clients every quarter and I'll come back and they've made a people move that was really hard, but it's paying off. And I'm like, yes, that's working. Or they solved a really hard problem or they overcame a financial obstacle. And like, if I get to be a piece of that, it's just amazing. I love when I see improvement. Facilitating really interesting conversations. So you've got a group of leaders around a table that all have a picture in their heads of where they want to go, and they all have different perspectives of how to get there.
Yeah.
And getting them all to share and pool that information into a single shared vision and have that aha moment of, oh, we know what we need to do because now everyone's been heard. It's sort of magic. It's just amazing. And again, that's one of the most rewarding parts of the work is just seeing those aha moments, facilitating all the perspectives into a shared understanding and then something that they can actually act on. Oh, it's great.
Super meaningful. So having worked alongside these executive leadership teams making really big decisions for their organizations, what have you witnessed that you would say characterizes the most healthy or effective leadership teams?
This is going to sound cliche, but it's right people in right seats. When I think about it, like taking that a level deeper, there's a level of humility that's required to only sit in the seats that you truly are the right person for. So many early stage leaders, especially founders, sit in all the seats or many, many seats because nobody's going to do it like me. And there's a humility that comes with realizing I need to hire people that are better than me at this so that I can do what nobody else can do. And getting to that point is a journey. But the teams that really get that, I think of that very first client where super smart guy, had an MBA, had run the company and grown it to a good size all by himself. But when they started EOS, he realized he needed an integrator. And he found a super talented guy who came in and freed the founder up to just be that guy in the community that everybody knew and was always running into people at restaurants in the grocery store and being out there and interacting and doing his magic. While the integrator was the behind the scenes, nobody knew who he was, but he was out there with the spreadsheets and the comp plans and grooming the next level of leaders and doing all that behind the scenes stuff that they needed to get to the next level.
Yeah.
And for the founder to have the humility to let him step in and do that stuff that he'd been doing really was the key to them breaking through that ceiling and getting to the next level.
Aside from humility, what else makes that so difficult, that right people, right seats component?
You know, I've been coaching my daughter on interviews, and also I mentor a student at Bethel, and we've been talking about job interviews. And I'm trying to say, like, yes, put your best foot forward and be yourself, because the culture kind of tells us, make yourself look better than you are. And so there's this tendency to try to get into a seat that maybe is not the right seat for you because of the prestige or the title or the money. And so people end up in seats they really shouldn't be in. It works best when people are authentic and really represent themselves well, which is not what we're trained to do really growing up and like get your job and be. And social media is the same thing. It's always telling us be this sort of version. And so it works well when the long-term relationships are there. So like my husband has a guy in his team now who started at the level 1 help desk, and he's been with the company for 15 years now. He's on the leadership team. Like, we know what he is great at. We know what he has grown into.
Yeah.
And we've seen the progress. So there's no question about, is he in the right seat? Which is gold. And you can't always wait 15 years. But I think the more we can develop those relationships, elevate talent from the inside where they're a known quantity. I mean, of course, you're going to have to hire from the outside. But even then, the whole hire slow, fire fast, like you got to hire slow. You got to have a real authentic understanding of who is this person, what do they naturally grasp, what do they gravitate to, what lights them on fire in a good way, and are they at the level truly that you need? I think the other side of that when it comes to filling seats is actually understanding what the organization needs for the next level.
So important.
Yeah. Again, the transition with the founder being the one doing the books. And then, okay, maybe we need a bookkeeper. Well, maybe we're ready for a controller at this stage. Maybe we need a CFO at this stage. And understanding as the business matures and grows, like how those leadership team seats change. Because some folks grow with the seat and sometimes they don't. And it's important to continually assess, like, what do we need next? Not just what did we need last, but how is the seat changing over time? And do we still have the right people? Are they growing along with the seat? Which can get uncomfortable sometimes, but if your goal is to continue to grow, it's super important.
Absolutely. And that's where that vision is so critical, that
Yes.
everybody's clear on and aligned around.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So one of the things you help teams grapple with are the big issues, the big challenges sort of getting in their way. What do you see most teams get wrong when they're trying to resolve issues?
Making assumptions. So we teach identify the root issue, discuss, and then solve. And most people, the natural tendency, very human, is just to discuss. And so if we don't stop to identify, which feels like we're slowing down, and most entrepreneurs don't like to slow down, but stopping to identify is so important, because normally what I see is a team goes in and says, oh, I know what the problem is, I'm going to solve it this way. And someone else says, I know what the problem is, I'm going to solve it this way. And they're looking at two different issues. And so a lot of time gets wasted because they're like, no, it's this, no, it's this. Well, it might be both. Which one are we going to do first? Because you're seeing it from different perspectives. And that's part of the fun of facilitation, is to be the referee, slow them down.
Yeah.
And be like, okay, wait, we're going to solve this issue first. Let's hold on to that one, because that's a thing too. And then, okay, what's the actual root cause? And it's so funny, because once they're clear on the root cause, the discussion goes much, much quicker. But often it takes so much discipline to slow down and really identify the root issue. Teams will just spin and go off on rabbit trails. That's the other challenge. Most visionaries are ADHD. And so they'll be having ideas as you're trying to discuss a problem.
Sure.
And they're like, wait, I know, I've got a solution. Like, wait, do we even know what the problem is yet? I don't need to name any names, because it's like most visionaries I've worked with, including my husband. And so learning to normalize that, like, okay, Mr. Visionary, you've got another idea.
Yeah.
We've got a squirrel here.
Yes.
Let's bring it back to what it is and take note. And just juggling all of the ideas that are bubbling up at the same time, and yet staying focused on resolving the key issue. Because the other thing I've started to notice recently is that sometimes teams will allow themselves to become distracted because the issue is getting uncomfortable.
Say more.
So sometimes that tough people issue, like, especially if it's someone on the leadership team and they're having to have a tough conversation as a group, it's super uncomfortable. And this is an easy time to start saying, oh, but it's really this over here. And learning to recognize that has been a journey for me. I mean, I've been doing this for a few years, and I'm just starting to realize, like, oh, they're very quietly deflecting from the real issue. And we actually need to go harder on that hard issue. Gently, but intentionally. Like, okay, yes, and let's stick to what's really going on here, because this is hard work, but I have lived with the simmering tension long enough to know it's not worth not addressing it. You got to dive in there and get it.
So practically speaking, if I'm a leader and I'm noticing we are getting distracted from the real issue because it's getting uncomfortable, which I'm so glad you named that. I think that is actually very common, and many of us are just not aware that it's happening. How can we reorient ourselves towards what matters most in those moments?
That's a great question. Many of my teams that I work with have a little set of foam animals. So they'll wave the squirrel at each other or toss it at the person who's causing the tangent. Or there's a little elephant, like for the elephant in the room. So sometimes having a playful way to acknowledge, hey, we're off track here, keeps it from being a finger pointing exercise and just sort of lightens it up like, okay, let's get back to it. I also work with a lot of remote teams where you can't do that. And so finding another way to be able to signal, whether that's the raise hand button in Zoom or I have been known to screen share pictures of squirrels when it's happening. Like, hey, and they'll keep talking for a minute and then they'll go, oh my gosh, there's a squirrel on the screen. So just having sometimes a nonverbal way, because often the quietest people in the room are the ones that really have a pulse on what's going on.
Wow.
So empowering them to flag when we're going off track or we're deflecting or we're squirreling quietly, really, really is helpful. Yeah. I had a situation recently where I was talking with a team and everybody was pretty excited. And at the end of our conversation, I said, well, I haven't heard from you. I always want to hear from the quiet one because there's usually, still waters run deep. And she just burst out crying. And there were issues that the rest of the team just wasn't even aware of she was carrying. And somebody asked. So those quiet folks, they may not say a lot, but usually what they say is worth listening to.
Absolutely.
And empowering them to contribute in ways that feel authentic to them.
Yeah.
Super powerful for the whole group.
Thank you for sharing. I want to talk about a topic that gets a lot of attention and different reactions.
Okay.
Accountability.
Ah, yes. Everybody's favorite.
What are your thoughts on accountability, Anne?
Yeah. It's so funny because accountability doesn't have to be something you do to people. If you get the right people in the right seats and you set clear expectations, especially numbers. I'm a data nerd. Man, if you have good numbers to hold people to, expectations can be really clear. And a person who's in the right seat generally will be accountable for what you've set them up for. Most of the time, well, I'll give an example from a non-management perspective. So we had a situation where our accounts receivable got out of control. There was an issue of no one was accountable for it, but that's separate. But if you think about your clients are accountable to pay you. So I started working through all of our past due accounts and figuring out what was going on. Like, is this the service terrible? Are our clients having cash flow problems? No. Most of the time it was we sent the invoice to the wrong person. We had a bad email address. There was an attachment missing. We didn't give them all the information, and so they didn't respond the way we expected.
Sure.
And I see that happen in management all the time where we didn't actually set clear expectations and confirm that they understood. We just said a thing and then just said, well, they should get it.
Yeah.
You got to make sure they understand. You got to repeat yourself often. And that's the piece most folks don't, I don't know. They think they can say it once and it's good.
Yeah, right.
And really, you got to say it 7 times before they hear it for the first time. And try not to be upset if it takes a few times. That's one of those motherhood lessons. Just keep saying it. Keep saying it.
Smile on your face.
Exactly right. So, clarity and providing what they need to succeed.
Yeah.
So that whatever the tools are, your time and attention, and then just really, really clear expectations is really sort of the fertile soil that accountability grows in. yeah, it still has to be the right person, the right seat. They still have to, believe in the vision, be aligned, and all that kind of stuff. But it really starts with a clear transfer of expectation.
And I also heard that right people in the right seats is such a critical
Absolutely.
ingredient in this.
Absolutely. I mean, if you try to, if you told your bookkeeper to go do the design for the website, and you're accountable for that, like, that's not fair, right? Like, it has to be within their wheelhouse. You have to make sure that you're putting them in the right seat. And that's part of leadership, is making sure that that alignment is there so that their God-given gifts are actually aligned with the work you're asking them to do and holding them accountable for.
Yeah. It really creates the conditions for them to be ultimately successful.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think Jim Collins said something like that about leadership is creating an environment where accountable people thrive.
I have not heard that quote. That's outstanding.
Thank you.
Alignment, such a critical and relevant topic in an ever-changing world. Yeah. Where do you see most teams get tripped up when it comes to alignment? And maybe not even necessarily in the meetings themselves, but in between the meetings when they're out there putting out the fires and executing day to day.
I feel like this has gotten even more difficult in the last year or two with all the AI stuff, because what is possible is changing so quickly.
By the day.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost impossible to keep up with it. So partly it's easy for the visionaries that love the shiny objects to like, oh, a new toy, every day a new toy. And for the teams to wonder, like, are my priorities this quarter still relevant? And again, it comes back to communication, staying on the same page and saying, here's where I am with my priorities. I'm wondering if this needs to slot in, and level setting on, can that actually wait till next quarter, or do I need to pivot right now? Because it usually feels more urgent than it is. We're like, oh, we're going to be behind if we don't embrace this new gadget today. Well, could it wait 2 months? Maybe there'll be a better gadget in 2 months, right. But it comes back to communication, because otherwise alignment is one of those things that doesn't just happen naturally. It's like a room doesn't clean itself. Like, you have to be intentional about realigning and communicating and making sure that as the environment evolves, we're still on the same page.
So powerful. I want to finish with a question around, if I'm a team member and I want to contribute more meaningfully to my team and I want to be more effective in my role, what would you encourage me, Anne, to really lean into over the coming weeks?
It would depend on your circumstances. So if you're an individual contributor or a mid-level manager, engaging with the person you report to ask them, like, what does good look like in this job? What does excellent look like in this job? How are you evaluating that? Not waiting until your annual review, but actually asking proactively, and asking for resources to help you grow yourself. Like, not expecting to be spoon-fed. Yeah. But I remember that same guy at my husband's company who's been there and worked his way all the way to the top. I remember him years ago asking me, like, what kind of books on leadership should I be reading, before he was a leader? Yeah. And now he is. Yeah. So taking that initiative and asking people that are just a little further down the road, like, what should I be learning now? Even if I'm not sure what my career path is going to look like. Like, what are the skills that are going to give me a good foundation for wherever life takes me? And most people are so happy to share. It might feel like you're bothering them, like, oh, I don't want to, they're already so busy. But I think most of the time you're going to be pleasantly surprised that there are people out there that love to help and are so excited that somebody's thinking ahead that they'll gladly resource you.
Outstanding. What if I'm a member on a team? So that's great for the individual contributors and the mid-level managers.
Yeah. So a member of a leadership team. Yeah. Yes. So I'm a big believer in peer groups. So I think that's if there is a way to engage with people who are doing what you do, and there are different ways to do it. Maybe it's a geographical group of like people doing your type of function in your region, or it might be an industry group like the one we were in where it was all IT people, but in different roles. Getting that outside perspective is gold because they can see things that you're so used to when you're like a fish in water and you can't see that the water is there. Somebody else looking in could be like, you know what you're swimming in? So having that outside perspective, I guess 2 turning points in my career. The one where they said, oh, you're a mom, you can do this. And the other where they said, hey, we'd like to try EOS. Both happened in a peer community.
Wow.
And I don't know if I would have made the leap if I hadn't had that.
Wow.
So that would be my number one. I'm trying to think, if you're a leadership team member,
How do I improve the health of my team?
how do I improve the health of my team? So the other thing is spending time together. And that can look a lot of different ways. I have a lot more remote first clients now. And so you may have to get creative, but the more time you spend together, it sort of doesn't matter what you're doing. It can be goofy stuff. It could be happy hour. It could be, dumb games. It could be actually working on a project together. But trust is built in relationship. And that's really the foundation of team health, is building that trust. So whether it's going to the whirly ball courts, have you ever done whirly ball?
Not.
Oh my gosh,
I've heard of it.
So much fun. Bumper cars plus basketball.
What could go wrong?
No cases of whiplash at all. It's hysterical. So anything like a goofy team event to, just sitting down and working on our rocks together. Anything you can do in collaboration, in communication, in relationship with your team is going to help build trust and provide clarity and really grow your team health.
Yeah, so powerful. Thank you for sharing all these insights with us today.
Thank you for having me. This has been so fun.
I agree. And thank you to our listener. Join us next week for another episode of Leadership Matters. Thanks for joining us for today's episode of Leadership Matters. If today's episode resonated with you, would you do me a favor and share it with someone you care about? To learn more about the work the Bailey Group is doing in the world, check us out at thebaileygroup.com or follow us over on LinkedIn. We love sharing useful articles, helpful resources, and valuable tools to help you expand your leadership capacity. Like and subscribe, and join us next time for more honest conversations.